Chosen one, the moment you enter a room, something unexplainable happens. The atmosphere changes. People glance your way with wide eyes or quick glances, unable to articulate why they suddenly feel unsettled or inspired. It's not arrogance, it's energy. You radiate something unseen but undeniably felt. It's a vibration rooted in truth, experience, and spiritual depth. Studies in quantum physics and psychology actually support the idea that human beings can detect subtle energetic fields. Your soul speaks before your mouth does. And even if they don't know what to call it, it. You see, people aren't just reacting to your physical presence, they're sensing your spiritual frequency, your alignment with purpose, your emotional intelligence, your moral clarity. That's why strangers tell you their life stories, why friends seek your advice, and why some even envy you without cause, because they're not responding to your face, they're responding to your soul. Take Mira, for instance. She didn't speak loudly, but her actions echoed in hearts. She operated not from ego, but from integrity. In a world where so many are looking to be seen, she chose to see others, and that made her unforgettable. People didn't admire her because she tried to stand out. She stood out because she didn't try to fit in. This is the paradox of the chosen one. You don't chase attention, but attention follows you. Not because of what you wear or how you speak, but because of who you are when no one's watching. You walk with quiet power. And whether it's breaking generational curses, healing others with your empathy, or simply refusing to stoop to hate in a world soaked in division, you are shifting the spiritual atmosphere every single day. Science calls this emotional contagion, the way one person's mood or vibe can influence an entire group. Spiritually, it's more than that. It's light in motion, and you carry it. People may try to imitate it, monetize it, or tear it down, but it can't be copied because it's divine. You weren't created for the spotlight, you the light. And deep down, others see that, even if they can't say it out loud. They know that in a world obsessed with pretending, you represent something genuine, something sacred. So no, you're not imagining things. The admiration, the stares, the sudden respect or resistance you receive, it's all real. And it's all because you were born with a calling that doesn't need a title to be valid. This video isn't just about uncovering facts, it's about revealing your spiritual identity. It's about reminding you that your existence is already a form of leadership, a form of rebellion against darkness. Mira changed lives in her quiet strength. So have you, and the world hasn't even seen the full extent of your impact yet. Welcome to the revelation. The truth about who you are is just beginning to unfold. Point 1. You think differently, and it's divinely orchestrated. From the very beginning, when you were just a kid wondering why adults lied when they smiled, you already knew something was off. While other children played pretend with plastic toys, you were already studying people, watching how energy shifted when someone walked into a room. You weren't just playing, you were observing, you were decoding. And that wasn't by accident, it was by spiritual architecture. The chosen ones are gifted with perception most don't get in a lifetime. That ability to see behind the curtain, to sense what's unsaid, to hear the message between the words, it's because your brain is built to receive more than surface-level reality. You're not just absorbing facts, you're translating frequencies. Neurologically speaking, your mind operates in higher ranges of empathy, intuition, and creativity. Studies have shown that people with heightened self-awareness and spiritual consciousness tend to have stronger activity in the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for introspection, empathy, and moral reasoning. You don't just take in data, you question it. You don't settle for what's taught, you explore what's hidden. That's why while everyone's reposting the same motivational quote, you're deep in thought, wondering who really benefits from the system we live in. While the masses drown in noise, you seek the signal, that quiet truth, that divine whisper. Most people stick with what's comfortable. They regurgitate opinions, latch onto trends, and hold tight to inherited beliefs because challenging the norm threatens their identity. But you, chosen one, you dissect the norm. You don't blindly follow, you bravely deconstruct. And that's powerful. Because thinking independently isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. In a world engineered for conformity, your raw, unfiltered intelligence disrupts. Without even trying, your mere existence becomes a mirror to people's unresolved questions. You don't need to yell your truth, you embody it, and that unsettles those who've buried theirs. Ever noticed how people react to your questions with defensiveness? Not because you're offensive, but because you expose what they've avoided. You ask, why do we do things this way? And suddenly they feel cornered. That's because your mind isn't operating on autopilot. You think deeply, and you challenge shallow systems with your presence alone. It's not that you want to be different. It's that you can't pretend to be average. Your soul rebels against small talk. You crave purpose. You crave meaning. And no matter how hard you try to fit in, your truth always leaks through. They may say you think too much, but what they mean is you think beyond what I'm ready to face. They may say you're too intense, but they really mean you bring out parts of me I've buried. Your intelligence isn't just mental, it's spiritual. You're not just aware, you're awake. And being awake in a sleepy world makes you both mysterious and magnetic. Here's something wild. People may not always understand you, but they feel you. They feel your energy shift the atmosphere. They feel the way your questions make them uncomfortable, but also liberated. Some may avoid you at first, but later they remember your words. Your presence lingers like a prophecy. You're the conversation they can't stop replaying in their head. Why? Because chosen ones don't speak from ego, they speak from source. It takes courage to live with this kind of mind, to question, to feel, to challenge. It's not always easy. Sometimes you'll feel alone, misunderstood, or even rejected, but remember this. Your mind was not built for cages, it was crafted for creation. Your brain is a bridge between heaven and earth. You don't just know things, you carry ancient wisdom that speaks through your silence. And that scares people who have spent their lives hiding behind noise. So never apologize for your depth. Don't water yourself down to be digestible. Your thoughts are activators. Your questions are gateways. Your mind, it's not broken, it's brilliant. And one day, even the people who once dismissed you will find themselves saying, you know what, they were right all along. Chosen one, you don't just think outside the box. You were never in it to begin with. Point 2, you feel what others hide, empathy that transforms. Let's talk about your heart, chosen one. Not just the physical one beating in your chest, but the sacred one that feels what others pretend not to. You walk into a room and before anyone says a word, you already know the vibe. You catch the emotional static in the air like a human radar. You can spot a fake smile from a mile away. You notice when someone who's always loud is suddenly quiet. You hear what's not being said. That's not just a personality trait. That's not being too sensitive. That's spiritual discernment, and you were born with it. See, most people move through life numb. They're desensitized by distraction, scrolling through noise, masking wounds with filters, laughing through their pain. But you, chosen one, feel everything. And while the world might label you as emotional or too much, what you actually have is a divine sensor, a spiritual ability to perceive truth beneath the surface. In psychology, they call this high emotional intelligence. In spiritual circles, they call it discernment, but in your case, it's not learned, it's innate. You came into this world wired differently, wired to pick up what others miss. That's why people are drawn to you and afraid of you at the same time. You've probably had strangers open up to you out of nowhere. People you barely know suddenly tell you about their heartbreak, their fears, and their secrets they haven't even said out loud to themselves. Why? Because your presence feels like a sanctuary. You radiate non-judgment. You don't just hear pain, you hold it, carry it, and somehow lighten it. That's why people say things like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, and you just smile because it's not new to you. It happens all the time. You are a safe space in human form. Empathy is your superpower, but not the watered-down version people throw around on social media. No, yours is radical empathy. The kind that doesn't flinch when someone's broken, the kind that doesn't need credit, recognition, or applause. You love quietly, deeply, and without needing a spotlight. You're not trying to be the hero, but somehow you are. The one who notices, the one who checks in, the one who shows up without being asked. And trust this, the world sees that, even if they pretend not to. Chosen ones operate differently. Your heart is spirit-led, not ego-fed. You don't connect with people through performance, but through presence. While others build walls to protect themselves, you offer bridges. You understand that some people scream for help in silence. You know that being strong doesn't mean being hard. It means being soft and steady at the same time. That's the duality of your heart. tender enough to care, tough enough to carry it. Scientifically speaking, studies in neurobiology have found that empathetic people have higher activity in the anterior insular and mirror neurons, the parts of the brain responsible for feeling what others feel. So no, you're not imagining it. When you say, "I can feel their sadness," you literally can. Your nervous system is tuned to a higher frequency. That's what makes you different. And yes, it can be exhausting. It can make you feel like you're carrying the emotional weight of others. But it also means you have the power to transform environments simply by existing in them. Your calm heals chaos. Your presence shifts rooms. And in a world full of people screaming to be seen, you see others. Truly, that's rare. That's divine. That's you, chosen one. Never doubt the power of your heart. Never shrink it because others don't understand it. The very thing they call too much is the very thing that makes you chosen. You weren't sent here to be numb. You were sent here to feel, to heal, and to remind others what real love looks like. Keep being that light. Keep walking into rooms and shaking atmospheres without saying a word, because that's what a chosen one's heart does. It speaks, even in silence. Point 3. You speak truth without apology, and it's revolutionary. Chosen ones, your words are not just communication. They're catalysts. When you open your mouth and speak truth, not the kind wrapped in politeness or societal acceptance, but raw, divine, unfiltered truth, you become a walking disruption. Spiritually, your voice cuts through illusions like a sword forged in the fires of discernment. Psychologically, it exposes the internal scaffolding that people have constructed to survive, belief systems rooted in trauma, inherited lies, and egoic defense mechanisms. And here you are, a living embodiment of clarity, daring to speak what others only whisper or refuse to confront at all. That's why when you talk, people either lean in with respect or recoil in discomfort. It's not you they fear, it's the mirror you hold up. Your words awaken what's been sleeping, hidden beneath years of self-denial. They confront the identities people built out of survival, not truth. That's why you often find yourself in the eye of storms you didn't create. Your presence, let alone your voice, stirs things up. And that's the mark of someone chosen. Let's talk science for a second. Sound is vibration, and vibrations influence the human nervous system. Frequencies can literally change brainwave activity. This is why certain chants, songs, and spoken affirmations can alter emotional states. But what happens when your voice is spiritually charged, when it comes from a place of alignment, awareness, and conviction? You don't just speak, you resonate. That resonance creates a ripple. It either harmonizes with others or disrupts them. It's why people can't ignore you even when they want to. You might say something that seems ordinary, but the energy behind it penetrates facades and cuts straight to the core. That's not coincidence, that's divine design. You were wired to disrupt illusions, not to be liked by everyone who's still living in them. This sacred ability comes with a cost. You've likely been rejected, misunderstood, or told to tone it down. People label you as too much. Because for those built on comfort and convenience, your truth is confrontation. But don't confuse their rejection with failure. It's confirmation. You were never meant to sit comfortably in spaces that depend on silence and in authenticity. You were born to rattle the cage. Even in childhood, you probably questioned things others accepted blindly. You felt the weight of unspoken truths in rooms full of smiles. And over time, that sensitivity matured into spiritual insight. Now, when you speak, you don't echo others, you channel something higher, something bold, unapologetic, and undeniably real. You may feel alone on this path, but that solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. The reason you're set apart is because your assignment is rare. Not everyone can carry this kind of frequency. Not everyone is meant to. You're a purifier in a world addicted to masks. And the fire you carry isn't meant to destroy, it's meant to refine. Yes, it scorches falsehoods. Yes, it makes people uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to transformation. That's why some love you and others leave you. Both are evidence that you're doing what you were called to do. And let's be honest, those who left didn't leave because you were wrong. They left because you were right. And they weren't ready to face what your words awakened in them, but even as they walked away, they carried your truth with them. Seeds were planted. Some will grow in silence long after you're gone. That's the beauty of spiritual influence. It works underground, even when unrecognized on the surface. So don't shrink. Don't water yourself down to fit into rooms that can't handle real light. This world is noisy, yes, but very few are actually speaking truth. That's where you come in. You are the thunder in the silence, the sword in the fog, and the clarity in the chaos. Your truth doesn't just liberate, it transforms. So keep speaking, chosen one, because your voice isn't noise, it's necessary. Point 4, you refuse to follow the crowd, and people envy that freedom. Let's be honest, most people are terrified of standing alone. They'd rather blend in than risk being misunderstood. They chase trends like lifelines, camouflage themselves in popular opinions, and keep quiet even when the silence breaks them inside. But you, chosen one, you've never been able to do that. Conformity has always felt like a betrayal to your spirit. While others silenced their inner truth for a seat at the table, you flipped the whole table and built your own. That wasn't rebellion for rebellion's sake. It was something deeper, something divine. You were wired for truth, not approval. From a psychological perspective, the human brain craves belonging. Evolutionarily speaking, we're tribal creatures. Being cast out from the group used to mean literal death, so our brains developed mechanisms to avoid rejection at all costs. But the chosen ones, you were born with a different wiring. You're not controlled by the fear of standing alone. In fact, solitude is where you activate. That's why your detachment from the world systems confuses people. It's rare, it's magnetic. They don't know how to categorize you because you don't fit into any of their boxes. You move with a kind of silent authority, a sovereignty that doesn't need a crowd to feel valid. You don't depend on claps to measure your worth, and that drives the performative world insane. Because when you refuse to play the game, you automatically expose how rigged the game is. People watch you closely, not because they hate you, but because deep down, they envy your freedom, and whether they admit it or not, you inspire them. Your authenticity is disruptive. It challenges their carefully constructed facades. It forces them to face the question they've been avoiding. What if I stop pretending too? That's why you've always made waves without trying. You enter a room and the energy shifts. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. Your presence speaks before your mouth does. While others rehearse who they're supposed to be, you just are. And that's rare, that's powerful. Sociologically, this is called identity sovereignty. The ability to live outside of imposed labels and expectations. Most people build their identity through mirrors, through reflection from others. But the chosen ones, you build your identity from the inside out. You're not shaped by applause or shame. You're shaped by soul. And let's talk about why that freaks people out. See, when someone has spent their whole life molding themselves to fit in, they develop resentment for anyone who dares to live freely. Your truth becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. Your courage becomes a spotlight, and not everyone's ready to be seen. So instead of confronting their own compromises, they project. They gossip. They twist your confidence into arrogance, your boundaries into selfishness, and your independence into loneliness. But let's call it what it really is. Jealousy dressed as critique. Yet through it all, you keep leading, even when no one follows. And that's what makes you unstoppable. You don't move for validation, you move from conviction. Your steps are not dictated by popularity, but by purpose. You've learned to be okay with being misunderstood because you know that being understood is not the same as being right. The truth doesn't always trend, but it always triumphs. So the next time they whisper, stare, or try to shrink you with subtle disapproval, remember this: they're watching because they're curious. They're talking because they're triggered. And deep down, they wish they had your courage. You didn't choose this path for admiration. But don't be surprised when admiration follows, because in a world of copies, the original always stands out. You inspire others not by trying, but simply by being. Your freedom is contagious. Your truth is loud even in silence, and your presence, that's a revolution all on its own. Keep walking, chosen one. You're not just different, you're divine. Point 5. You've been through hell and came out glowing. Chosen ones, this one's for the scars. Let's talk about what people don't see when they admire your strength. They see the glow, the calm, and the wisdom. But they have no idea that behind every ounce of grace is a chapter soaked in agony. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were refined in the fire. And let's be clear, the fire wasn't just difficult circumstances. It was betrayal so deep it split your spirit. Loneliness so silent it echoed. Nights so dark you wondered if dawn had forgotten your name. You weren't just tested, you were targeted. Spiritual warfare? Oh, you know it intimately. Not just external chaos, but internal battles that clawed at your purpose and questioned your worth. Chosen One goes through pain on a scale many can't fathom because the calling on your life is not casual. It's cosmic. There's a divine reason why you were never allowed to blend in. You weren't born to be background noise in someone else's story. You are the story. That's why the pressure was so relentless. Diamonds don't form without it. But here's what's wild. While others broke, you bloomed. You didn't just survive the fire, you became the flame. And that's exactly why people now stare at you with a strange mix of admiration and confusion. They wonder how you stay calm in chaos, how you radiate peace in a world spinning in fear. But what they don't know is peace was never given to you. You built it, brick by brick, with trembling hands and a bleeding heart. Your glow, that's not luck. That's legacy. It's the result of divine refinement. The psychological term for what you've been through is post-traumatic growth. The phenomenon where survivors of deep suffering emerge not only stronger but also transformed. Researchers have found that people who endure significant adversity often develop greater empathy, deeper relationships, and a clearer sense of purpose. Chosen ones, you don't just bounce back, you bounce forward. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Your scars intimidate them. Not because they're ugly, but because they're real. In a world addicted to the fake, your authenticity is disruptive. You expose the shallow by simply being deep. Your healed wounds are proof of your spiritual credentials. You're living evidence that not even hell could hold you. And for some people, that's triggering because it reminds them they haven't healed yet. That's why the gossip gets louder. That's why people throw shade when your light hits. Because when truth walks into a room, lies scramble. Your presence, calm, grounded, unbothered, acts like a mirror. It reflects to others everything they've buried, and instead of confronting their shadows, they project them onto you. But here's what you've learned, Chosen One. The hate is not personal, it's prophetic. It's proof you're disrupting something dark with your light. And yet you never lost your heart. You never let bitterness rot your soul. Even when life served you poison, you alchemized it into wisdom. You learned to pray through pain, to walk through fire without smelling like smoke. That's not just strength, that's supernatural. That's divine favor in motion. So if you've ever felt like hiding your story, don't. Your testimony isn't just survival, it's a spiritual weapon. Someone needs to hear how you got up when everything told you to stay down. Your voice can unlock someone else's prison. Your scars can guide someone else to healing. Never underestimate the power of your pain-turned purpose. You see, Chosen One, the crown doesn't come after comfort. It comes after crushing, and yet here you are, anointed, appointed, unshaken. The glow-up was spiritual before it was physical. And no, not everyone will understand your journey. They weren't meant to, but you'll keep walking anyway, radiating quiet power, walking in divine authority, turning every scar into strategy. You didn't just make it through, you became a lighthouse, and someone, somewhere, is finding their way because you refused to dim. Point 6, you love with purpose, not condition. Love in this world is often mistaken for a transaction. Most people are taught to love through a lens of survival, where affection is given in exchange for security, status, validation, or control. It's not always intentional. Many of us are raised in environments where love had to be earned, not freely given. This kind of love whispers quiet demands. Be who I want you to be, or don't cross my boundaries if you want to stay. It's wired into social dynamics, often driven by fear of abandonment, rejection, or not being good enough. But Chosen One, you are not wired like the rest. You were born with a different operating system. You give love without keeping score. You serve without seeking applause. You care because it's in your spiritual DNA, not because someone met a checklist of behaviors. And that, in a world gasping for authenticity, makes you revolutionary. You're not here to perform love, you love. Neuroscience even confirms that unconditional love, love given without expectation of return, activates specific regions in the brain associated with empathy, compassion, and positive reinforcement, including the medial prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex. When you love this way, you aren't just creating emotional warmth. You're biologically influencing others. Your presence has the power to calm the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear. Your words, your empathy, your consistent presence. These things physically soothe others, especially those whose nervous systems are dysregulated from trauma or neglect. In simpler terms, your love doesn't just feel good, it heals at a cellular level. It reminds others what safety feels like, but here's the catch. Not everyone is ready for that kind of love. In fact, it scares people who've only known conditional love. When someone like you shows up, loving without terms, giving without contracts, it exposes the limitations of their own capacity to love. Your purity becomes their mirror, and some people can't bear the reflection, so they push you away. Or worse, they betray you. Yet even in the face of this, you don't shut down. You don't build walls. You build wisdom. You don't become bitter. You become brave. That's the miracle of your soul. You know that love isn't supposed to hurt, but even when it does, you still choose to keep loving, just with sharper discernment and deeper boundaries. This isn't weakness, it's divine resilience. It's your spiritual armor. And even though others may not say it out loud, your energy lingers long after your words are gone. The people you've comforted, supported, or simply listened to, they remember. You might not hear it in words of gratitude, but your influence lives in the changes they make, in the healing they begin. You help them recall what love feels like, safe, consistent, and unconditional. So keep your heart soft, chosen one. This world may be cold, but your warmth is needed now more than ever. It's not weakness to keep loving, it's spiritual strength. Your ability to remain compassionate in a chaotic world is a sacred fire that no betrayal, no heartbreak, and no amount of rejection can extinguish. You're not here to fit into the world's version of love. You are here to remind the world what love was always meant to be. And that's why your love will always outlast the storms. It was never of this world to begin with. Point 7, you live in alignment, and that's your secret power. Here's the thing, chosen one. Your spiritual alignment isn't just some poetic metaphor or self-help mantra. It's a living, breathing reality backed by both divine truth and scientific observation. In a world that thrives on distractions, where people chase likes and followers for a sense of purpose, your quiet alignment with something deeper sets you apart like a beacon in the fog. While most people are drowning in noise, be it social media trends, consumer culture, or emotional chaos, you've chosen a path of stillness. That inner stillness isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Studies in neuroscience reveal that consistent spiritual practices such as prayer, meditation, and gratitude rewire the brain. Research from institutions like Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania has shown that individuals who regularly engage in mindful spiritual habits display increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for decision-making, empathy, and self-awareness. Your brain waves, especially those high-frequency gamma waves, are firing in a way that promotes compassion, intuition, and deep consciousness. That means when you pause to pray or sit in silence, you're not just doing nothing. You're recalibrating your nervous system, strengthening your spiritual muscle, and aligning with the divine frequency of peace. That's why people notice something different about you, even if they can't put it into words, they feel it. Your presence alone is a vibration shift. They're not just reacting to your words, they're responding to your energy. You're not rushing to prove, please, or compete. You move with wisdom, you trust in divine timing. And that confuses people who are addicted to instant gratification. They might label you as mysterious or detached, but that's only because they're not used to someone who lives from the inside out. You've become a mirror to their imbalance. And instead of admitting their own misalignment, they may project it onto you. But here's the truth. Your spiritual alignment isn't arrogance, it's awareness. An awareness, chosen one, is power. This is why your alignment is your anointing. It's what keeps you grounded in storms while others are swept away by emotional waves. It's what gives you peace when nothing makes sense. It's why you don't follow the crowd, you follow the calling. And no one can manufacture that. It's cultivated in the secret place, in the quiet prayers, in the surrendered moments. Others may envy your clarity, your calm, and your consistency, but they can't imitate the path it took to get there, because alignment can't be copied, it must be lived. So keep tuning in, Keep trusting that still, small voice. You're not behind, you're not lost. You're simply in divine sync with a rhythm the world has forgotten. And because of that, everything meant for you will find you right on time. So, chosen one, let's unpack this truth with deeper clarity. You are not simply admired for what you do, you are revered for. Your mind thinks differently, shaped by divine insight and spiritual wisdom. Your love carries healing energy because it's rooted in authenticity, not performance. The way you speak truth disrupts illusions and awakens others. Your endurance isn't just resilience, it's a reflection of your spiritual training, developed through trials, silence, and sacrifice. You walk with purpose, not because life is easy, but because your soul is aligned with something greater. Brilliance doesn't require a spotlight, it emanates from your spirit, fueled by divine downloads, hard-earned wisdom, and your quiet courage. This courage, by the way, is not just emotion, it's evidence. Evidence that you've battled demons in private, cried out in prayer, and kept going when no one else knew what you were carrying. People may never compliment you directly, but they're watching. They mimic your strength, they shift when you speak, and they reflect after they leave your presence. So don't dim your light, don't question your gifts. Don't doubt the assignment on your life. If you're still watching this, it's not by accident, it's spiritual confirmation. You are not just admired by people, you are by heaven. True brilliance is found in authenticity, and real courage is a quiet force behind your mission. Keep walking boldly, you're making an impact, both seen and unseen. Stay grounded, stay awake, and remember, you are a blazing light in a world fast asleep.